If you've read up a little bit about health and fitness, or maybe you follow a few health influencers or blogs or whatever it might be, somewhere along the line, I'm sure somewhere has someone said that gut health is important and that we should all be focusing on it, and then proceeded to maybe sell you a few either supplements or specific diets or certain tips and tricks, right? And it is important. Gut health is very important. We should be focusing on it. It is so important for our overall health and disease prevention and just feeling good in general as well. And yes, it has an impact on our body composition and fat loss, for example, and maintenance of healthy weight. We do see that people that have excess body fat in their body do tend to have a decrease of gut microbiota, which then definitely impacts their gut health. So yes, it is very, very important. But unfortunately, what we do see is that often with these articles or blogs or influencers or whatever it might be, is together with them advocating for gut health, they also advocate for certain products or diets that might be breaking your bank unnecessarily. So that is what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about 5 pieces of knowledge that I want to pass on to you when it comes to thinking about your gut health, and when you are maybe reading an article or seeing something online and you think that this might be good for your gut health, then hopefully these 5 pieces of knowledge will help you make a better decision that might not break the bank and that might be a little bit more sustainable in the long term. Before we start with the video, I just want to introduce myself to anyone that's new. Hi, my name is Melissa Null. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm part of the Body 20 Nutrition Doctor team. And welcome here. We post these videos every second week, so you are more than welcome to send us any questions or suggestions for topics that you want us to cover via WhatsApp or email. So let's get back to the video. So the very first piece of knowledge that I want to leave with you is just how effective and whether it is necessary to do specific tests when it comes to gut health. So these are things that we see: food intolerance tests, GI mapping, breath tests and so forth often get really sold to the public as the be all and end all, and that it's going to solve all your problems. Unfortunately, with these tests, they aren't always as reliable and well studied. And we do see that they sometimes recommend unnecessarily restricting your diet to certain foods, and especially things that you might enjoy. Now, most of the time, these tests won't harm you, maybe your budget a little bit, but they don't really pose that massive benefit that they often promise you. So in general, we don't really recommend that you go for the food intolerance tests or the breath tests or those types of things unless you really want to. And then even when you look at the results, look at it with a qualified healthcare professional and also with a pinch of salt. Often with the food intolerance tests, for example, if you do eat a specific food regularly because you really enjoy it, let's say avo, for example, the food intolerance test might pick up that you are intolerant to avo. And it's just the way that it's set up. When you consume a lot of avo in your diet, your body tends to increase the IgG molecules in your body because it's just a natural response to make sure that you can actually metabolize the avo and that your body doesn't go into an allergic shock, for example. And then they test it and see, oh, your IgG for avo is high, so you should be avoiding avo, if that makes sense. So it is something that you need to bear in mind. Maybe in the future we'll get more research and more reliable studies and tests, but for now it might be something that you can do without. The second point or piece of knowledge that I want to leave with you is that gluten-free isn't always healthier. Now, gluten-free is also a very hot topic. It's often very trendy for a lot of people to be on a gluten-free diet unnecessarily. So gluten is definitely harmful to people that have been diagnosed with celiac disease. Celiac disease is basically a gluten allergy, and you should be avoiding gluten at all costs. Then we also do get more like a gluten sensitivity or gluten intolerance, which is, I think, in majority of people's cases. And this is where you might be able to tolerate a little bit of gluten or nothing at all, or maybe a little bit more. So this is also very person specific. And then a gluten-free diet might be beneficial to you. However, the notion that gluten-free typically equals healthier is definitely not true. Unfortunately, a lot of the gluten-free products aren't as healthy as the normal gluten-containing counterparts. because often with the gluten-free products, they tend to use very processed and high GI flours, like for example your rice flour, potato flour, or tapioca flour to make a muffin. That's gluten-free, and for it to at least taste edible, for example. But then these foods aren't necessarily healthier. They often also need to add a little bit more sugar to make it tastier. So if you don't need to avoid gluten, don't. Rather go for the whole grain, minimally processed option where possible, because that's actually going to help your gut health, because it's going to give you the fiber at the end of the day that we need for the good bacteria to actually ferment and inoculate and be healthy in the gut, and of course lead to healthier or a gut health or healthier gut. So if you don't need to avoid gluten, don't avoid gluten. It's not necessarily healthier. The third point is superfoods. So superfoods often, especially now, are being sold at a record rate, and it is very heavily marketed, and you can find it now even in your supermarkets. So again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with superfoods. They won't harm you. However, if you can't really afford superfoods in the long term, or keep it in as a sustainable product in your diet, then it's not necessary to include it. You can very well get all of the nutrients from the superfoods that you would have gotten from the superfood just from a normal balanced and diet that's high in fruits and vegetables and in variety. So if you don't want to go for the superfoods, you don't need to. Just make sure that you are having a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables. Can be frozen as well, but just a nice good variety of different fruits and vegetables, and then whole grains if you're not gluten intolerant or celiac. And then that should be sufficient, because at the end of the day, the superfoods are often just a concentrated form of berries, for example. Unless there's a specific one that you would like to consume that we don't get, maybe in South Africa, or you don't like the taste, then that's fine. But if you can't afford a green powder, you can definitely still be healthy without a green powder, just making sure you incorporate local and fresh and seasonal fruits and vegetables. The fourth point that I want to make is about probiotics. So probiotics are definitely important for gut health. We do need probiotics. We can get probiotics from our foods, from fermented foods, and also from things like yogurt, for example, or kefir or kombucha. Those are typically food sources that contain probiotics. Or you can then go for a probiotic supplement. Now, where the probiotic supplements often can break the bank is when we don't really look at a good quality probiotic supplement and we just buy whatever's on the shelf, which is completely understandable because it's so overwhelming when you go into a pharmacy or to a health food store and you just see this shelf full of probiotics. Which one do you choose? So in general, a broad spectrum probiotic that has a few multiple different strains in it should be suitable for you if you don't struggle with anything specific like constipation or diarrhea or IBS. Maybe you just want overall gut health, then a broad spectrum should be fine. However, the most important thing that you need to look at is the amount of probiotic strain in that product, and they usually indicated on the label as CFUs. So we definitely want at least 10 billion CFUs per serving. So if that's 1 capsule or 2 capsules. Because if you get something that's less than that, you're going to have to take 4 or 5 capsules, and we don't really know if it's really going to reach your gut or if it's just going to be used up by your esophagus, your stomach, and then maybe just not even have enough for your gut. So these probiotics that have 10 billion CFUs might be a little bit more expensive when you compare product to product, but overall they work out more efficient or effective, cost effective at the end of the day, because you don't have to take as many capsules, so it lasts longer. So just make sure you do look at the amount of CFUs on the label when you do buy a probiotic. The last point that I want to make is detoxes and cleanses. So detoxes and cleanses are often also very heavily punted as the be-all and end-all. We need to do it. If you don't do it, then you're not going to achieve your goals or results, and that's not true. Okay, so again, if a detox or cleanse is something that you feel you need because maybe it's mentally something that you feel like you just want to do that before you start with your eating plan, then that's your choice. But it doesn't need to be, it's not a necessity to being able to maybe lose weight or to become healthier. You don't need to go on a detox every single time you start with a new eating plan, or maybe you've gone off the rails a little bit and you want to get back into your New Year's resolution. You don't need to do a cleanse or a detox to do that, only if you really want to. And if you do it, be careful with how you do it and for how long you do it, because often these detoxes and cleanses might become harmful if you do it for a very extended period of time, because they're not very high in nutrients and proteins and those types of things, because it's often made up of mostly your vegetables and fruits maybe, and waters and that type of thing. So you don't need to go onto an expensive cleanse or detox if you don't want to, unless it's something mentally that you feel you benefit from. So those are the 5 points that I wanted to make. So hopefully it helps you a little bit. Just bear that in mind next time when you do think of your gut health, or if someone talks about it and tries to sell you a product or a program. Bear that in mind, but you are welcome to send us any questions if you have any via WhatsApp or email, and we'll get back to you. But that's it from me for today, and then I'll see you in the next one.